So this video we're talking about how to sort of come... It's yawning again.
It's a heavy topic.
It is a heavy topic. It is a heavy topic. We're talking about how to come back from when you've messed up. Whether it was a big mess up, like you had an affair, or a little mess up, like you can't follow through. And that's kind of a big mess up overall.
Or any kind of addiction issue.
Yeah, any kind of addiction issue, whether it be gaming, porn,
gambling,
drinking, anything,
drugs.
drinking, any of those things that deteriorate that connection that we talked about in the last video. Because if you have that connection, chances are you're not going to have this problem. And we put that video as number 2 because we wanted to help you understand the importance of that connection. And now we're going to help you hopefully repair if you don't have that connection or you're struggling because of other issues. So I guess we could talk about the biggest ones first. I suppose the biggest one would be somebody cheats.
Yeah.
And in that case, and we've had situations where we've talked and worked with clients and worked with friends, known friends, where that's been a problem. And so what it comes down to is you have to decide, do you want to fix it? Is the cheating done? Are you done? Like, and by that I mean, like, you have to walk away. If you're the person who cheated, you have to cut all ties with that person. And so if it's somebody who works for you, you're going to have to fire that secretary and get somebody else. If it's somebody you work for, you're going to have to look for a new job. If it's somebody that you see every week, you're going to have to figure out how to not see them. You have to cut all ties in order for that other partner to really trust. Because you've broken... I think what's hard is people go, well, it's just sex. You've broken every trust that other person had in you. Every trust. And I can't think of anything bigger except for murder.
Or beating somebody.
Like that. Violence that is worse than adultery.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like judgmental, like, oh, you were an adulterer, you're a horrible person. I'm just saying as far as your trust connection goes, you got to do everything possible, and it may not be fixable. So I think that's the first thing you have to go, is this fixable?
I think it's more common than I used to think.
I think it is too. I think we have there's a lot more temptations. There's a lot more easy ways to, so, was it an affair of the heart and mind, or was it an affair of the body, so and both are a huge violation of trust. Even if you never met this person, but man, you sexted back and forth, or you've been talking to them and your partner didn't know, for months and months, and you've had this online relationship or whatever, it's still trust. It's still a huge trust. And it's because when you are in a love-making relationship, you bear everything. You're open and vulnerable. So to have that broken, that's huge. I honestly, I don't know if I could come back from that. I think I would really struggle. As a cleric who needs to be in charge of everything, I think it would rock my world to its core. And I don't know many people who have been through it who it didn't rock their world completely. So whether, and it does not matter. Honestly, it does not matter if it was oh, well, he's not paying attention to me, so I went and did this, or she's not paying attention to me, so I went and did that. Because there again, your communication is wrong. There's not an excuse. If you are in a committed relationship or you're married and you have not made the other person aware of this issue, then there's just not an excuse for it. Because you're blindsiding them. And so I think that it's important to, like I said, decide whether or not it's fixable. Both sides have to be in on whether or not it's fixable. Like if you were cheated on, then you have to really ask yourself, can I recover? And if you can't recover, you got to be honest with your partner, soon to be ex-partner. I don't think I can recover from this. And if you were the person who cheated, you need to be honest and say, I cheated, I screwed up, it was really bad, whatever excuses coming up in your head. But you need to decide whether or not you want to stop the activity. And my parents divorced when I was 9, and it was after like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I can remember, because I was 9, I was old enough to remember some things, and it had a huge impact on me. My father, my birth father, not my stepdad, who I love dearly, but my birth father was a huge womanizer. Huge womanizer. I didn't realize until I was like a teenager how much wreckage he caused for my mom. And so I remember I was like 9 years old, and I totally forgotten about this. I wasn't even going to talk about this, but I totally forgot about this. I was 9 years old, and it was late at night on a Sunday, and my mom and she said, I need to go somewhere, and I need you to take a book because you're going to have to sit in the car. And it was late at night, so I remember like sitting in the car like with a flashlight reading this book, and I was in the car for probably an hour while she was inside this house, and I had no idea where we were. And it went on and on and on, and I ended up like falling asleep, and then she came and got back in the car, and it was like more than an hour later, and I said, are you going to tell me where we are? And I remember being 9 and being really confused, and she said, that is the house where your sister lives. And I was like, excuse me? What? My birth father had an affair, and then it resulted in a child, and that was where that child lived. And the mother had contacted my mom because she was still married to my dad, and she had no idea. She had no idea. So this woman had contacted my mom, and my mom was like, I need to see this kid.
Yeah.
I have other siblings from my birth father. All of us have the same like facial markers. You can pick us all out of a lineup. We all look enough alike that it's no mistake. Mm-hmm. And so my mom was like, I had to go see. And so that was it was a huge burden for me to take on at 9, and I would never do that to one of my children. But I remember the hurt in her voice, and I didn't ask a whole lot about it because I was a kid. But then as a teenager, we had talked about it, and I remember her saying that he had cheated like 10 times that she knew of. And that was the only child that she knew of. And so it rocks families. If you don't think that your mistake rocks your children's lives, think again. Because yes, we all make mistakes, and yes, we can come back from them. But you've got not just your partner to come back from, you've also got your children that are going to eventually find out. And you've got to come back from that. There's trust all around that you've got to fix. So to fix that trust, you must do whatever he or she asks you to.
Yeah.
You know, I think there was a couple that I knew once, and the therapist had said that. You've got to pick something that he can do every week to show you that he's building trust. And for her it was, he needs to bring me flowers every Friday. And I think they did it for like a year or so, and then he couldn't do it anymore. And it wasn't just about bringing the flowers. It had to be, you know, he has to bring it with love. He has to be thinking about this couple. They couldn't keep it up. They couldn't keep up and I think in part because she wasn't sure she could ever trust him again. And they ended up getting a divorce, and she actually ended up giving her children up. And because she had some mental health issues she really needed to work on. But I think it comes back to, like, you got to decide, both of you have to work together to fix it. You know, and you've had some experiences where you said, when you were working with that couple, and she was really upset. Like it was something that just had happened a few times.
Oh, the different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how upset she was, and how repentant she was. Like,
yeah.
And I think that makes a huge difference. You know, and I also think it's different if you come forward and you fess up versus being caught.
Yeah.
Because I think as human beings, we kind of don't want to like be in that awkward place. But gosh, yeah, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, I would say whatever that other person wants that will help them build trust with you. If that means that you need to let them know where you're at all times. I know on the iPhone, you can track somebody. Yeah, that's stalkerish and weird, but it's not if you've been a cheater.
But also, besides those kinds of trust breaking, there's also, say, issues with money.
Oh yeah, so there's that. That's just one piece. So there's totally like
being really, really responsible with money.
There's money or gambling or yes, for sure.
Or if
money, I think, is an important one because we make decisions together. We make the money together. We make decisions together. And I know we've had discussions about and videos about money and whose money is it, and it doesn't matter if you're the one earning it. It's your money together, so you should be discussing big purchases together. Same dad. I was just thinking about this. It's so weird what things have come up. I can remember he went out and bought a truck, and it didn't tell my mom, and my mom was like, huh? You spent $20,000 on a truck? And that was like a lot of years ago. It was this big tricked out truck, And he was colorblind. And he was like, yeah, don't you love my blue truck? And my mom's like, honey, it's not blue. I just remember. That was the biggest part that I remember. He was colorblind. And she was like, that truck is not blue. That truck is gray. Anyway. So no, I think it's like money things. It's huge. You have to talk to each other. And I'm not talking about, gosh, whether or not you can spend $50 on something. That's different than, or $5 on something, depending on what your budget is. That means both of you have to know what's going on with the budget.
Yeah.
Know, like, are the bills paid? How many days is it till rent or our mortgage is due? And so, but it's about connecting. Again, it's about making that connection.
Well, we have those conversations all the time because
we do, like on a daily basis.
Behind the 8 ball about something. And
right.
What happened, and I know that people can start blaming each other if you haven't done this or that. Then we would
and that gets ugly, and so you don't want to be in that spot. Other issues with trust might be porn addiction, and what was that website? Fightthenewdrug.org. It's a real deal, and I know people go, "Oh, you guys are just prudes because you're Mormons." We're not prudes. Trust me, we are not prudes. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that it does kill love. Porn. Our 6-year-old daughter has this great T-shirt because she's been sort of on this crusade about porn, which is odd for a teenager, but she wears it all the time, and it says "Porn kills love." And people, like adults, will stop and look at her and read her T-shirt and raise eyebrows, and then a lot of them will be like, "You know what? That is the most awesome thing I've read on a teenager shirt all day," Or some of them will just shake their head and walk away. But it is a big deal. And it is especially a big deal if it is one or the other of you is addicted to it. And it's different if you're watching a movie together and that's just all you're doing. But something entirely different if somebody's hiding with the device, with the computer.
People have to, if it's something that you don't want the other one to see you doing, then
that's a problem. It's totally a problem because then you're hiding it and it's dishonest. And again, you're breaking trust. And I think from a woman's perspective, like what goes on in a woman's mind is my body not enough? Like, am I not good enough? And women already have this struggle of, are we not good enough? And so that whole totally messes with body image. And so it doesn't matter how good your sex life is, if that's still a factor, it's a problem. And you said that you had read an article about a guy who said it totally killed his sex life, and when he stopped, it came back.
It got better, yeah.
And I think a lot of it is there's so much stuff that goes on porn that it's not real, and you can't even imagine. It's just not real. So there's that. There was gambling. We're going to talk about gambling. If you've got gambling, any kind of addiction issue, gambling, gaming. We've had a couple of clients we've worked with that have had gaming issues. Have any words of wisdom there?
Well, if it's something that, because there's times where I've played a game and I go, that went on too long. I need to go do something else. I need to get up and do something else. But
we have a healthy relationship with gaming.
Like not being able to get up out of that chair, and that sounds kind of horrible.
Well, it does sound horrible. I think that there are guys that are coming home and they're playing for 5 hours. And
I could see that it's, because sometimes I've played as a stress relief or something.
Yeah, totally. But that's different.
But then if it's becoming where you're completely escaping your life into it.
Well, not only that, when you play, and I think this is a healthy relationship, you make sure that everybody else's needs are met around you. That's part of being a grown-up. That's part of being the adult, the parent. You go, okay, the dishes are done. She's putting kids to bed. Or the dishes aren't done. I want to play, but gosh, I should probably help her do the dishes before I go play. Or
because the problems that we've been hearing about are people that they just come home, I worked hard all day, plunk down, and there's still all these things going on around them, and they're not paying attention.
They're not paying attention because they just are getting lost.
The spouse has been dealing with all these other things all day, and then the husband comes home or the other partner comes home, and it's like, well, I'm checking out because I worked hard.
Right.
And then the other person's like, well, I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, it's about that connection, honoring each other, making sure that we are paying attention to the other person's needs and feelings. And I think one of the biggest things that if I could impart it would be Just because you're a grown-up and you are in charge of yourself doesn't mean you don't have to think about other people. The minute you get married or you're in a partnership and you have children, you have to think about other people, not just yourself. And that doesn't mean you don't take care of yourself, because you do need to take care of yourself. But you have a vital interest in making sure that everybody else takes care of themselves as well. You know?
Yep.
So, let's see. I was trying to think if there are other things. Maybe you just really suck at follow through and you've broken trust too many times.
Like, why should I expect that you're going to do it?
Right. I hear that one a lot. Why should I expect it's going to be any different? Because that's all he ever does, or that's all she ever does. All she ever does is nag at me, and all he ever does is disappoint me.
You messed up my last 5 birthdays. Why is this one going to be any better?
Yeah. So then the questions that I ask for those are, do you want it to be better? Because if you don't want it to be better, we should be having a different conversation.
Yes.
We should be having a conversation about how you can amicably co-parent outside of marriage. But if you want it to be better and you want to save your marriage, then you both have to decide that the person who was disappointing has to go, I sucked at that and I was disappointing and I need to make changes. So then you go back to video number 1, which was affecting the will, how you get your will built up, and you work on making those changes. And then the person who's been disappointed needs to observe and be paying attention to. Don't be expecting, if he or she is willing to help and willing to change things and willing to make things better, you have to make sure that you're seeing those things happen. And yes, it's progress over time. So, here's the thing. A choleric is going to find out something is wrong, fix it, and probably never do it wrong again. A melancholy may really struggle with the fact that they did something wrong, because they might just decide that they suck constantly, and that why should they fix it?
Because they're just horrible people.
Because they're horrible people. So that's a whole different, feed your melancholy and then come out of it and then make proactive change. They are, again, long-term, really good at making good proactive change. Sanguines might be really flighty, but they have a huge amount of empathy, and so they're going to feel the other person's distrust, and they're going to want to fix that, so they're going to want to make change. The ones that are going to struggle might be the phlegmatics more. They might be like, screw it. I can't do anything to make her feel better anyway, so why should I try?
Yeah.
So then the conversation is, do you want to save this? Do you want to fix this? Do you want to work together? Do you want to have a great, close relationship? Do you want to have a thriving relationship? When we wrote Thrive, that's what it was all about. It was about realizing that you have things within inside you that you're not perfect, and you need to be humble enough to say, I'm not perfect at this, but I want to fix it. I want to make it better. I want to make it stronger. And but that only comes from admitting it and realizing that there's a spot there that needs to be fixed.
Yes.
Anything else for you to say? I feel like I talked a lot.
I think we're good.
Think we're good?
Yeah.
All right. If y'all need anything, you know where to find us. Please leave us a message. So, the way we got the hit on these topics were people that were sending us private messages, and that's usually how we tackle things. So please send us a message. Let us know if there's other things you want us to tackle, because we can. So if you have a good day, good week, good month, we'll see you again soon. Bye now.
Bye.